Would you believe my grandma fed 30 people every Friday with just one oven? Neighbors talked, relatives bragged, and her Cholent recipe even won a city contest in 1981. Sometimes she'd hide the best dish till midnight, just for the grandkids. Why did everyone chase her Shabbat dinners for decades? Today, I'll show you all 20 and the stories behind them. 20. Challah. Challah doesn't wait quietly at the table. It shows up golden, braided, shining, making everyone pause. My grandmother's hands move fast, dividing the dough into 3 thick ropes. The kitchen smells warm and rich, yeast and hope tangled together. She always says the same thing: 2 loaves, double blessing. That tradition stretches all the way back to the desert, when ancient families gathered extra manna before the Sabbath. Austria and southern Germany in the 1400s is where the braids begin. Jews watching Christian neighbors, borrowing the shape, making it their own. Ashkenazi challah skips butter so you can eat it with meat or dairy, but never skips the egg and oil that keep the inside soft. Seeds on top mean you hope for abundance. By the time the blessing is sung, everyone's hungry. The first tear of bread turns a plain Friday into Shabbos. Suddenly, every story feels possible. Next comes the soup. 19. Chicken soup with matzah balls. Chicken soup isn't just food in my grandmother's house. It's medicine, therapy, and a reset button. She starts Thursday, dropping bones, carrots, and celery into a giant pot. The kitchen fills with steam, and the windows fog, which is always a sign Shabbat is coming. There's debate every single week. Some want matzah balls light as clouds. Others want them dense and hearty. It turns out even New York delis built reputations on whose soup floated the best dumpling. This tradition goes way back. Ashkenazi kitchens, sure, but also ancient Greeks and Chinese, who all believed in broth as cure. But here, at our table, the magic happens after the first spoonful. Everyone softens. People stop arguing, phones disappear, and the week's mess doesn't matter anymore. Chicken soup isn't about the recipe. It's about family surrendering to comfort. When bowls empty, the talk always turns to what's next. Cue the gefilte fish. 18. Gefilte fish. Gefilte fish never looks fancy. Pale, wobbly, cold from the fridge, it always sparks jokes and side-eye at the table. My grandmother just smiles. She knows every slice is survival made edible. The roots reach medieval Germany, where gefilte means stuffed. Back then, cooks packed chopped pike into its own skin. Jewish families, trying to feed 10 with one fish, grind scraps of carp or whitefish with onions and a little bread. That trick stretches a meal and stretches a budget. By the 1800s, it's the first course in every Ashkenazi Sabbath. The carrot slice on top is non-negotiable. But what wakes you up is the crane, horseradish grated with beets, strong enough to make you blink. Kids complain, but grown-ups always eat it. Gefilte fish means you made it through hard times and still have stories to tell. After the burn fades, everyone wants something warm and roasting. Chicken. 17. Roast chicken with potatoes and carrots. No other smell says Friday night like chicken roasting in my grandmother's oven. She sticks cloves of garlic under the skin, fills the cavity with lemons, and surrounds the bird with potatoes and carrots, each piece set with purpose. In her house, roast chicken is a rule, not a suggestion. Long before grocery stores sold perfect cuts, families made do with the whole bird. Soup came from bones, dinner from meat, leftovers for lunch. Joan Nathan and every Jewish cookbook agree this is the real star of Shabbat. When the chicken hits the table, plates get passed with more speed than at any other meal. Potatoes come out crispy and golden from the juices, carrots sweet and tender. By the end, all that's left are bones and stories. Everyone feels full and peaceful, but something's always waiting. An overnight pot, quietly bubbling for tomorrow. 16. Chicken fricassee with mini meatballs. Chicken fricassee is the dish my grandmother called the forgotten classic, even though she made it almost every week for Shabbat lunch. It's one of those old-world recipes that traveled quietly from Eastern Europe to immigrant kitchens, changing shape but never losing its soul. She starts by browning chicken wings until they hiss and sputter, filling the house with a smell that makes every cousin drift toward the kitchen. Then come the tiny meatballs, each one rolled between her palms like a secret, seasoned with onions and just a hint of paprika. Some families used to stuff chicken necks instead, making a dish called helzel. Grandma said rolling meatballs was faster, but the idea was the same. Take something small and stretch it into something special. The sauce is tangy and rich. Tomato, a little sugar, a little lemon. When it simmers, it thickens into the kind of gravy that clings to everything it touches. By lunchtime on Shabbat, the wings are tender and the meatballs melt on your tongue. Kids fight for the meatballs, adults ask for just one more wing, and somehow the pot always empties before anyone admits they're full. Fricassee tastes like ingenuity, making magic out of humble ingredients. Every family has a version, and every version has a memory attached. In our house, one spoonful meant you'd officially settled into Shabbat, ready for stories, warmth, and whatever sweet surprise waited on the dessert table. 15. Beef brisket with onions and gravy. Brisket built its reputation by feeding families during tough years. Grandmothers in Eastern Europe used this tough cut because it was cheaper than prime meat, but with patience and onions, it could turn rich and tender. In 1903, Jewish immigrants in New York City bought brisket by the pound, hoping it would last the week. My grandmother starts hers the night before, soaking, rubbing with salt, and layering onions until everything melts together. The whole house smells like caramelized memories by Friday afternoon. Have you ever seen a dish vanish in seconds? Brisket pulls that off. Kids beg for leftovers in their sandwiches, and uncles argue over the burnt ends. This dish still sparks debate: sweet sauce or savory, thick slices or thin. In some homes, the gravy even makes it to Cholent the next day. But how did potatoes become such a powerhouse side for this meal, sometimes outshining the meat with their crunch and golden top? 14. Potato Kugel. Potato Kugel turns 5 pounds of potatoes into the star of the table. The tradition started in Eastern Europe around the early 1800s, when potatoes became the go-to for Jewish cooks trying to stretch their budgets. Grating by hand takes forever, but the crispy edges and custardy center reward the effort every time. My grandmother uses schmaltz for flavor and lets cousins fight over the corners. Ever tried to sneak a piece before dinner? In my house, that risked losing dessert privileges. Hasidic families still believe eating kugel at a Rebbe's table brings luck, and I kind of believe them. Every slice promises more than just carbs. It means family history in every bite. Sometimes, the debate over sweet versus savory breaks out. Raisins or black pepper? Next up, the sweeter cousin with noodles that always blurs the line between main dish and dessert with its golden crunch. 13. Sweet noodle kugel. A noodle kugel lives in the middle, never just one thing. In the 1500s, Jewish cooks in Poland started swapping bread for noodles on the Sabbath, which made the dish softer and more special. My grandmother picks wide noodles, stirs in eggs, sugar, and vanilla, and bakes it until the top crunches under your fork. Does your family argue about raisins or cinnamon? Ours does, every single Friday. Some like it with cottage cheese, others want it dairy-free. At family meals, it sits between chicken and the dessert tray, confusing every new guest. Is this sweet or savory? Someone always asks. Legend says the tangled noodles stand for unity, but in our house, the real unity comes when everyone wants seconds. This dish never lasts past the first round. But how did carrots and sweet potatoes end up in a sticky stew? carrying wishes for wealth and luck every winter? 12. Tzimmes. Tzimmes takes over the kitchen with bright colors and syrupy smells. Medieval German Jews were slow-cooking root vegetables in the 1300s, then adding carrots in the 1400s as a sign of prosperity. That orange slice, shaped like a coin, says you hope for a sweet year and maybe a few extra dollars. Grandma makes tzimmes in a heavy pot, tossing in dried fruit and brisket for special occasions. The result is always soft and sweet, a bit like eating history in a bowl. Did your family serve it for Shabbat or just Rosh Hashanah? Ours, both. Some say making a big tzimmes means making a fuss, and honestly, the effort pays off in sticky hands and big smiles. By the end of dinner, only streaks of orange and sweet sauce remain. But what happens when you take cabbage, wrap it around meat and rice, and drown it in sweet sour tomato sauce, just to see who will claim the best roll at the table? 11. Stuffed cabbage rolls. Stuffed cabbage rolls have always been celebration food in our house, even when times were lean. In the 1800s, Eastern European Jews started filling cabbage leaves with rice and meat to make a little go a long way. My grandmother blanches the leaves, rolls them tight, and layers them in tomato sauce with a dash of sugar. Simmering takes hours, but the wait is worth it. Each roll unwraps a bundle of comfort and patience. Ever notice how people choose their favorite roll by size? Some swear by the biggest, some hunt for the smallest, just like siblings picking teams. This dish crosses continents. Similar rolls appear in Ottoman kitchens too, with different spices. Our family always pairs them, echoing stories about 2 tablets of the law. At the end, all that's left is sauce and napkins. But then, how do you keep food hot and flavorful when you're not allowed to cook for a whole day, and why do eggs in brown shells show up alongside the stew? 10. Moroccan Deafina or Hamin. Deafina means buried in Arabic, because every Friday families literally bury a pot in hot ashes or a slow oven. That's how Moroccan Jews, starting in the 1500s, found a way to eat hot stew on Shabbat. My grandmother's neighbor shared her recipe: chickpeas, potatoes, beef, and whole eggs, slow cooked until everything turns rich and brown. Each egg peels with a smoky aroma. In Morocco, no Shabbat lunch felt right without it. Today, we always eat 2 stews, Ashkenazi Cholent and this one side by side. Which pot disappears first is still a running contest. How did fiery red fish suddenly become the boldest way to start a meal? 9. Moroccan spicy fish. Moroccan fish, called crème, takes over the table with color and heat. Tomatoes, cumin, garlic, and red peppers cover every bite. Jews in Casablanca and Marrakesh served it first for Shabbat, always hoping for extra blessing. My grandmother tones down the spice, but never the drama. The sauce stains challah, and everyone lines up for seconds. Crème symbolizes protection and luck, especially when packed with fish eggs. My uncle swears it brings good fortune. 1 dish, 2 cultures. Ashkenazi guests always blink at the heat. Which modern fish slipped into Shabbat without a fuss, becoming the safe choice for cautious eaters? 8. Oven-baked salmon. Salmon on Shabbat sounds modern, but it's now a staple. By the 1980s, as fish became easier to buy, Jewish cooks swapped heavy meats for baked salmon with lemon and dill. Grandma bakes it ahead. No fuss, no drama, just flaky fillets and fresh herbs. It's lighter, but the side salads and hummus still fill the table. Older relatives whisper that salmon feels fancy. In summer, this dish beats the heat and wins over every guest. So what golden, crunchy plate arrives just for kids, then gets stolen by the grown-ups before anyone can blink? 7. Chicken Schnitzel. Schnitzel arrives hot, crunchy, and impossible to resist. In the 1950s, Jewish families in Israel made chicken schnitzel because chicken was affordable and quick to fry. Kids claim every piece, but adults can't help themselves. My grandmother adds garlic to the crumbs, then watches plates empty in minutes. Schnitzel solves picky eating. One bite, and everyone wants more. What old world side brings together buckwheat and noodles, quietly carrying history from Russian villages to city delis? 6. Kasha Varnishkes. Kasha Varnishkes mix buckwheat, bow tie pasta, and onions fried in schmaltz. Russian and Ukrainian Jews made this by the 1800s to stretch winter supplies. Toasting kasha with egg keeps grains fluffy and bow ties soak up flavor. My grandmother says it sticks to your bones in a good way. This side means comfort and sits next to any roast or stew. Which set of tiny salads and dips brightens up every Shabbat table, making the meal feel like a feast even before the mains arrive? 5. Israeli salad, hummus, and tahini. Every Shabbat table feels brighter when the little bowls come out. Israeli salad, a chopped mix of tomato, cucumber, and onion, gets dressed in lemon and olive oil, echoing what Jewish farmers ate more than 100 years ago. My grandmother calls it the salad that goes with everything. Hummus and tahini, now supermarket staples, once signaled real Middle Eastern flavor. In Tel Aviv's earliest cafes, hummus wasn't just food, it was community. My grandfather remembers growing up with 15 different salads on the table. Eggplant, cabbage, carrots, you name it. Color means plenty. Some relatives only nibble the salads, skipping meat completely. Grandma says, "You can't run out, that's the rule." This rainbow of dips lets everyone eat their way. Kids dip chicken, adults pile up pita, vegetarians feel seen. But right when things get comfortable, a dark, spicy noodle bake challenges everyone's idea of what Kugel should taste like. 4. Jerusalem Noodle Kugel. Jerusalem Kugel is not your grandmother's soft noodle dish. This one started on the streets of Jerusalem in the 1800s, where Ashkenazi Jews caramelized sugar for sweetness and added loads of black pepper for heat. My grandmother first tasted it on a trip in the 1970s and came home obsessed. She scorches the sugar just right, stirs in thin noodles, and lets the pepper bite. Some people swear it's a side, others argue it's dessert. At our table, it sits next to Cholent, confusing every guest. The glossy brown noodles hide spice that sneaks up on you. Older cousins love it for the drama. One bite. You're hooked or you're out. This Kugel turns regular Shabbat lunch into an adventure. Everyone debates if it even belongs on the table, but nobody skips a taste. What comes next looks healthier, but surprises everyone with its own set of secrets, like which cousin snuck in extra rice. 3. Stuffed peppers and other vegetables. Stuffed peppers fill the kitchen with color and curiosity. Sephardi Jews in North Africa and the Middle East made these dishes by hollowing out peppers, zucchini, or eggplant and stuffing them with meat, rice, and herbs. My grandmother lines the pan so every pepper stands upright, red and green soldiers ready for battle. She pours tomato sauce until it bubbles over. The whole room smells like hope and comfort. Ashkenazi versions use simpler fillings, but the idea stays the same. Turn simple vegetables into celebration food. Sometimes there's a fight for the last pepper, especially if someone packed it with extra garlic. Cousins who don't eat meat still get a share, just rice and veggies. Grandma always says, "Don't waste the sauce, it's the best part." After the trays are empty, people ask for leftovers for Sunday. But as dinner winds down, heavier plates return. Think slow-cooked beef, rich with history and debate. 2. Pot roast or Flanken. Pot roast means winter, warmth, and windows fogged from the oven. In Eastern Europe, Ashkenazi Jews turned tough cuts, like Flanken or chuck, into Shabbat staples by simmering them for hours with onions, carrots, and potatoes. My grandmother saves brisket for holidays, but Friday night is all about pot roast. She slides the pan in before sundown, filling the house with the smell of slow-cooked tomatoes and beef. Sometimes, Flanken cooks so long it almost melts into the gravy. Everyone crowds around the kitchen to sneak a piece before it hits the table. When the roast arrives, so does nostalgia. Every bite tastes like another era. Grandparents argue about whose recipe is best. At the end of the meal, someone always mops up the sauce with a scrap of challah. Yet before all that richness, one humble spread makes or breaks the mood. Guests judge the whole meal on that first creamy bite. 1. Chopped liver. Chopped liver divides families before anyone says a word. In medieval Germany, Jewish cooks fried goose livers with onions and fat, then ground them together for Shabbat. My grandmother switched to chicken livers. Cheaper, easier, just as rich. She browns onions low and slow, mixes them with hard-boiled eggs, and adds schmaltz for flavor. Some relatives groan, but others rush to grab a slice of challah before it's gone. The saying, "What am I? Chopped liver?" actually comes from this dish getting left off fancy menus. People in New York delis debate whose chopped liver reigns supreme. At home, the bowl always empties first. If it comes out lumpy, the teasing lasts all night. That first bite sets the whole tone. Will this Shabbat be remembered for comfort, laughter, or one epic argument about how much schmaltz is just right? Family, memory, and food, these stories never really end. Another Shabbat, another surprise. Hit the next video before it fades out, because there's always one more tradition waiting to be revealed.